We are at the Greater Reset 4 in Morelia. We are hosting people from all around the world, 15 countries here in person, 22 countries watching online. This is a gathering of freedom-minded people trying to find, what are the next answers to create a better world than maybe the one we were born into.
This community gathers every year in January since 2020. The Greater Reset is also a big effort of the Freedom Cell Network.
It started originally as a response to what was going on with COVID-19, the government's locking down and the shop mandates and everything, but it's become more than that now. Now it's like a community of people who, we know the world's getting worse and there's bad things going on, but we don't want to just talk about that. We want to come together to talk about solutions and to see how can we actually change our lives. So we bring people together, not just to come talk for 4 days and then go home, but the event, we call it the Greater Reset Activation, because we're really trying to activate, to motivate, to inspire people to take an active role in what we're building together. Well, it's very much a proactive thing, not a passive sit back and just watch.
When we started this, Mexico was the only country you could fly into that didn't have vaccination requirements. So we had people from Europe come. We've had speakers from around the world sharing solutions, and that's what it's all about. We're getting the appropriate knowledge from every location and working together. This is our 4th event now, and it's been massive. We have around 100,000 viewers each time we stream for 5 days, and I've personally heard about it changing so many lives. You don't even have to give us your email to watch it. So we're just trying to share the knowledge as soon as we can get it. Every time we've had a talk, we've released it the very next day. So if you go on our website or our Odyssey channel for the Greater Reset, you can find we have over 80 videos already published from solutionaries. And it's really important because we need to give people hope and inspiration that they can make the change. And we don't own the Greater Reset, we all own the Greater Reset. And so I think the choices Derek makes in his organization and what we do for the Greater Reset is we are facilitating our community to stand up.
So we have people presenting from all over the world, some in person in Mexico, some in person in Texas, and some virtually online. But the idea was to get speakers who are really masters of their particular art or their particular area of research. And so on the first day, we focused on health, but mental, physical, spiritual health. The second day, we talked about permaculture and food independence because more and more people are concerned about their food and where it's coming from. And not only that, but wanting to learn about how to produce their own food and how to get more connected to local farmers and networks of food growers. And the third day, we focus on building parallel networks, parallel systems. I've noticed that the last 2.5, 3 years with the Great Reset and COVID and everything, more and more people are realizing maybe we need new systems. Maybe I don't want to just deal with the government, right? People were being locked in their homes. They're being told they can't travel, they can't go to the grocery store. That sent a message. Okay, we need our own systems. If they're going to try to lock us out of their systems or control us and say you can't come in, can't do this if you don't have a shot, then we need to have our own ways of living and organizing. And so the third day was all about that, like homeschooling, alternative currencies, just any way we can think of building new systems. And then the fourth day, we're talking about technology. We call it Take Back Our Techs. We're surrounding ourselves with these tools, and the vast majority of people have no idea that they're giving away all their privacy, that the smart TV is listening to you all the time, that the little robot vacuum cleaner is taking pictures of you, that, all these ways that these things are affecting us. And maybe some people say, well, I have nothing to hide, I don't care about it. But we're trying to help people see we can use digital tools. There's phones that don't track you, right? There's computers that are coming that don't track you, but most people have never heard of this. They just know you go to the store and you buy a phone, you buy a computer, it's gonna have Microsoft, Apple, Google all built in. They're spying on everything you do. They're giving your information to governments. So we wanna show people that there are ways to use technology without all that stuff.
All my activist friends are using Facebook and big tech and using Google Drive. Are we really going to have all our organization and knowledge and all the intimate connections? Are we going to let big tech, which is funded by government and subsidized by government, are we going to let them manage them? No. So I went down this path of reclaiming all of the software we were running for the Freedom Cell Network and the Greater Reset. And we've started a software empire, and it's been a beautiful thing to see. But I want to encourage people to do it themselves, fight for freedom in their own ways, exit and build, create the new solutions, because we're all looking for them.
Day 5, we focus on building free and conscious communities. This is one of my favorite parts because it gives people even more practical knowledge, right? We have presenters who focus on their own land, growing food, homesteading, some who live in big communities, intentional communities or eco-villages, some in Texas, some here in Mexico, Ecuador, across Europe. There's so many communities being represented here at the event, and it's really beautiful. And the reason we do that is because we want all the people who are watching, who are maybe dreaming of, I want to get some land, I want to sell my house, or I'm looking for the right community. A lot of people come here looking to do that. And so we want to show them, not only is it possible, here's people that are doing it.
We've all got our own individual preferences and whatnot, in our personalities, and one solution for one person might not be the best solution or practical for another person to use. It's not a one-size-fits-all campaign.
As far as the language of it, the Greater Reset is the antithesis of the Great Reset. This is a globalist concept system that is educating politicians and world leaders and industries in how to control the whole globe of people. Greater Reset, to me, is a brilliant idea, which is, let's be the antithesis of that. Instead of a small group of people dictating to the world, who we are and what we're allowed to do, Greater Reset is let's inspire the sovereignty and the power in each person to dictate to those small-minded individuals that think they're in control who we're going to be and how we're going to live. It's a spectacular event, and it's filled with the right types of speakers. And I thought, if you can be happy here, then we should be able to be happy anywhere.
The Greater Reset is a gathering of people that are questioning the narrative and questioning the way that we've been told to live, a conventional life.
The Greater Reset is about primarily decentralization, building alternative systems so that are not based on hierarchies or coercion, where everything's voluntary.
In our indigenous communities, we talk about the 7 generations and beyond, right? So we're thinking in terms of the people who aren't even here yet and those who are going to come. How can we start laying a foundation for a world that gives them some option? We have no way to know if we'll succeed, but I believe, and we believe, and everybody involved believes that trying and making the effort is so important. And if we didn't make this effort, then we're basically just giving up and selling out the coming generations.
It's really a very diverse community ideologically. And it's a beautiful thing because we can all share those ideas and learn from each other and take what works for us. And it's okay if we don't resonate with something else, we can let that go. And I think that the conversation of all these different points of views is really empowering the evolution.
To me, the Greater Reset happening right now in this moment, it's important because the World Economic Forum, the United Nations, these people, they have an agenda. It's called Agenda 2030. Well, it's 2023, and the United Nations and the World Economic Forum have called this the decade of transformation. So they are very much working night and day to create their vision. And while there's a lot of people in the world who are questioning things and questioning governments and trying to find truth, there are less people who are actually doing something about it. And I think this is the time humanity needs it. This is our time. This is like our generations. I mean that collectively, right? Like if you're alive and you're physically able and you're hearing this message, I'm talking to you. It doesn't really matter your age. We're the generations that have the opportunity to make this change.
The Greater Reset is when we overcome the insecurities, the doubts, the fears, even if not 100%. But we step into trusting ourselves, trusting each other to build the lives that our hearts just always desire.
I see people more willing to question things, and I see people more willing to come together and seek community. And I know that the community and the movement is growing, but it's not based on somebody telling you what to do. It's based on the facilitation of looking inward. What do you want to create? And it's not that somebody's going to do it for you. Everything in this activation is talking about how you can be a part of creating the change you want to see in the world.
Yo siento que este es un evento donde la gente del mundo entero viene a aprender el cómo sí. El cómo sí puedes cambiar este mundo, el cómo sí hay gente que piensa y siente igual que tú, que puede ser diferente, el cómo sí ser atrevidos para que esta oscuridad que reina desaparezca. Sencillo. Tal vez no nos toca a nosotros todavía vivir ese cambio que queremos, ese futuro brillante que nos pintaron cuando éramos niños, pero tenemos la confianza y la certeza de que al menos estamos poniendo esas bases para construir esa realidad que algún día, si Dios nos da oportunidad, volverlo a sentir o ser testigos de ello.
Y a mí lo que me trajo aquí realmente fue la gente, que aquí en Morelia tenemos este espectacular lugar. Sin embargo, nadie viene a sentarse aquí al prado, a convivir, a estar en esta armonía. Entonces, pues yo vi a esta gente y dije, bueno, ¿dónde está el ovni? ¿Dónde aterrizó o qué? ¿Cómo es posible que nosotros tengamos esto todos los días y no lo aprovechemos como lo están gozando aquí, ¿no? Entonces me llamó la atención la tribu, digamos, y bueno, pues ya viendo el tema, pues con mayor razón, yo siempre he sido rebelde del sistema y bueno, pues creo que aquí estamos varios rebeldes en armonía y en comunión.
Se me ha hecho muy interesante porque tienen puntos de vista que no son muy comunes escuchar en México, ¿no? Y como periodista se me hace interesante porque sí es una forma real, una forma tangible de poder hacer comunidad, de ser autosustentable y no tener que estar dependiendo, como decimos, de un sistema tradicional que pues siempre se ha aprovechado, ¿no? Siempre ha sacado ventaja.
Para mí es algo bien hermoso porque siento que necesitamos más de estas cosas. Entonces, para mí, la experiencia ha sido de mucha conmoción. En cuestión de agradecimiento, es también muy hermoso porque lo que yo ofrezco aquí se toma así completamente, abre sus corazones y dicen, sí, yo quiero aprenderlo, yo quiero saberlo. ¿Cómo es que llegaste a esto, no? O sea, y es hermosísimo saber que hay gente buscando esto.
Before these conferences and conferences like it, and even before the pandemic, it seemed to me that like there was all these wonderful people and we were connected by the internet in these different places, in these different cities, but they always seem so far away. This has given us a hub to kind of come together and to meet each other in person, know that we're not alone.
Since I was raised in a household with a lot of abuse, and I was always willing to question everything. And that became my theme throughout my life. I'm in my mid-50s now, and I've continued to question everything throughout my life. So I think that gave me the foundation to look at the outer world as something that really I should not just accept as reality. I looked at the outer world as I'm going to navigate this in a way that makes sense, but I'm not going to just accept and trust on the basis of authority being authority.
The point that got us to our awakening, we kind of knew that we needed to decentralize, that we needed to look outside of the system, but spiritually, I was very lost and confused, and our relationship went to very toxic places. We were drinking, we were fighting, arguing over every little thing, triggered over every little thing, and it got to a point where we either were going to break up or we had to do something about it, and somebody introduced us to psychedelics, and that completely shifted our entire life.
A veces nos sentimos solos y creemos que estamos locos, la familia nos rechaza, entonces estamos un poco así en divergencia, en mucha mentalización, no sabemos qué decisiones tomar, pero si nos reunimos con otras personas que estén vibrando lo mismo, que estén teniendo este tipo de ideas, cada vez se nos va a hacer más fácil tomar la decisión de hacer cambios, de poner la palabra, y la palabra es la columna vertebral, y lo haces con conciencia, pues entonces puedes salir de esos estados de divergencia y estar en resonancia y en mayor coherencia, que eso es lo importante, estar en coherencia con lo que pensamos, con lo que hablamos y con lo que actuamos. Eso es un proceso, así que bienvenidos los que quieren salir de la divergencia.
We are experiencing life, and we should be allowed to make any decision we want that really doesn't hurt someone else. Freedom starts with yourself, right? You have to trust yourself in order to trust other people. And I think that's where we're getting out. We're starting to live in such fear. We don't trust ourselves, we don't trust other people, and therefore we are imprisoning ourselves. Fear imprisons us. Fear takes away our freedom. And fear is how the government is allowing us to vote away our own freedoms. I think freedom truly is life.
I think there's a great awakening happening. It's the self-ownership awakening. And also in my talk, I asked the question, who owns your body? Nobody ever asked me that question.
And freedom gives us the opportunity to express ourselves in the way that is congruent with what our dharma is, what we're here for. Why are we on this planet, right? Not the superficial stuff as much as the stuff that really is deeply, profoundly meaningful to you and to me, and what we discern to be meaningful to the earth, right? And the universe, and our connection to each other and that life force.
Comes from within. Freedom is the knowledge that we are sovereign individuals Freedom is the power of saying, I can give you consent or I do not consent. This is sovereignty, this is autonomy, and freedom is what every human's birthright is.
It's all about understanding that if we grow our own food, then that creates that much more freedom for us. Because if we work to buy the food, then if we grow our own food, we have to work less. So that's like one of the steps out of the modern slavery.
Para mí eso es la libertad, la soberanía personal. El que yo decido qué ser, qué hacer, poder elegir con qué curarme, qué comer, dónde respirar, cómo vestirme.
It's the ultimate responsibility because it means you are willing to take responsibility for everything you say and do. And it means that you don't require anyone to control you or to rule over you because you have become the king or queen of your own domain. You are free, meaning you're also free from trauma. You're free from binding contracts. You are free from addiction. You are free from hostile programming. You're free from cultural conditioning. So true freedom to me is spiritual freedom. And it means that you are embodying that by the way you live. I think that is the ultimate goal for all of us, and it's a work of multiple lifetimes. So freedom is not just that, oh, I don't pay tax or I don't wear a mask. It's that you are free as a soul.
We now know that it's more quantum and physical.
Thank you, Derek. Many of us who went to public school, you graduate 17, 18 years old, they give you a high school diploma, say, congratulations. Now what are you gonna do with the rest of your life? And you're like, I don't know, you guys just told me what to do for 12 years. Now it's up to me all of a sudden? So this is why I always ask young people, I say, can I ask you a funny question? Have you found your dream yet, or are you still looking for your dream?
We've been told that democracy is this enlightened system, but democracy itself is oppression. And that's if you believe we even have true democracy and that it's not just a few elite who pretend it's democracy. That's not enlightened, and that's not freedom. 51% telling 49% how they have to live is not freedom. I believe that voting is actually an act of violence. That you're saying, I want this set of policies and I want to force it on everybody else. And that's my vote. And I know that's a hard concept to accept because we've been told since we were kids in school that voting is this beautiful thing, that without voting we'd be slaves. But we're still slaves. We're just choosing a master. It's still a master.
I am sovereign if I stand and believe that I have all of my rights endowed upon me. I don't like that we're starting to think of sovereignty as something I have to request from the government or something I have to fight to have.
I don't think we have time to sit at the feet of a guru for 10 years and learn. I think we've got to turn inside, find that guru that lives inside us, each of us, and go from there. I understand the sovereignty of the guru within because why? You're not going to find it. You're looking out there, you will never find it because you give away your sovereignty to that person. Don't do that because that person knows and you don't. You give your sovereignty away to that person, to the Hierophant in the tarot, okay? You give yourself away. Why would you do that?
La soberanía es autogobernarse. Ese es un soberano. Porque si tú te puedes gobernar a ti, puedes gobernarlo a todo. Y gobernar no significa que tengas que imponer tus sentimientos y tu manera de pensar, sino decirle, esto es lo más prudente para todo. No para todos, para todo. Porque también están los árboles, está la nube, güey, está el viento, está todo lo que no existe. Entonces un soberano es el que realmente piensa por el más alto bien de todos.
Soberanía para mí es una energía, un movimiento que permite que las diferentes personas, elementos de la naturaleza puedan encontrar la potencialidad. Una soberanía alimentaria permite esa potencialidad, permite darnos cuenta de ese poder de conectarnos a las relaciones de amor con las otras personas, con nuestra familia, con los vecinos de la comunidad.
Love is the force that makes you not consider even for 1 second when you're about to do something meaningful. You know, love is the force that guides you to the right path. Love is courage. Love is authenticity. It's a word that is being used in such a kind of commercial way that when you think of love, you think of like fluffy things and pink things and butterflies and rainbows. But for me, love is that force that makes people stand up against all odds and say, no, I'm here and you can't crush me because I love life so much, I love humanity so much, I love creation so much that you cannot oppress me, you know.
What I'm understanding love to be is the base of where my intentions come from, the base of where my thoughts, my actions, my desires come from. They sometimes come from other places, but when they come from love, beautiful things fruit from that.
Love is a feeling that you get when you connect with someone or something or an experience that makes you feel more like yourself, like more like your true self, right? And I think that kind of makes sense. You know, if you go outside and you're enjoying a sunset, you're just like, wow, I love this moment, right? There's something that inside you feels connected to that sunset, to that nature, and makes you feel more whole, right? If you're loving another person and you embrace them and you feel like that connection, that like we call that love, right? But it's just a word that stands in for being connected to something that is divine or something that's beyond us.
Love is acceptance, understanding, care, kindness. Love is innocence. Love is forgiveness. And love is the breath. Love is light. Love is play. It's fun. And love is all that is here now, for real.
Yo siento que es esta energía que no diría que mueve al mundo, sino que nos mantiene como seres humanos en una cuestión de suavidad, de armonía, de amabilidad. El amor es el ser amable con los demás, con tu ambiente, con tus hermanos, con tu familia, con todos, ¿no? Porque la amabilidad es la capacidad que tiene uno de amar, ¿no? Y el amor lo tenemos desde que nacemos y a veces nos olvidamos que somos eso y que venimos de ahí, ¿no? Para mí eso es amor.
The things we go through in life are necessary to make us who we're supposed to be. Maybe everybody feels like the time they're alive is important, right? It's just a human thing. But I think there truly is something special about this moment. Yeah, I feel it, I know it, there's no question to me. And every experience confirms it. When I make a new connection, a new friendship, partnership, whatever, some experience we have, it lets me know this is why I'm here. This is why I'm supposed to be here. So I do believe that whether we as individuals know our purpose, that we're supposed to be here for one reason or another. And maybe we won't even figure it out till later, right? Maybe as we're old and getting ready to leave, we find, oh, it makes sense now. Now I remember, I know exactly why I was brought here. But I do believe every person that is alive today, in some way, they are meant to be here to affect the planet and the time we're living in.
For me, what I feel drives all of it is this is all an experience. We're here to have as many experiences as possible. So anytime something comes up that we're not exactly excited about, it's an opportunity. That's a lot of what motivates me. And also connecting with other people. The more of this work that we do, the more that we get to deeply and vulnerably and authentically connect with other people. And I think that's really the core of what we're here to do.
The last few years, so many people quit their jobs and started doing something that they love instead, making such positive changes in their lives, and that's beautiful. That's the new world, living from a place of joy rather than a place of obligation to the system.
The communities that are going to be the future of this world have got to start speaking. They've got to start growing everywhere. We can't just be isolated to certain places, or we won't reach that critical mass place where we can actually make a difference. For hundreds of years, these industrial powers that have been trying to control us, they have an end game here, and we happen to be alive at the moment where this thing is either going to come to a conclusion or we're going to stop it.
And knowing that every action that we do today, it's a contribution for those who have not yet been born. So it's to keep the human essence alive, the heritage of what it means to be a true human being, indigenous, spiritual being on this earth.
This is that grassroots community connection where we're able to exchange ideas, goods, services, and possibly build things that continue to serve communities into the future.
This community is full of loving people, kind people. And it's because we've eventually evolved from yelling at government buildings and they just ignore you, they don't do anything, right? So now we evolve to say, wow, we gotta build our businesses. We gotta build our media platforms. We gotta build our relationships. We gotta build our trust. We gotta build the actual solutions, and that requires a lot of work.
I truly believe we can be the change we want to see in the world, and we're going to come together. And unfortunately, maybe this message hasn't reached some places that are more controlled. We need to build the alternative. And if you see that the world they're trying to create, I'll take any alternative over that.
I dream of us just coming home, remembering who we are, and living in harmony with each other. I truly believe that is possible. Whether it will happen collectively in our lifetimes or not, I don't know that. I don't think anybody knows. But we are already creating these communities now. So even if it's a little seedling, it's already happening. So it's not so much that it requires dreaming. I think it just requires living it and embodying it.
I feel like this is exactly what I was trying to do from the beginning, and to be here 13 years after waking up, it feels like there's only bigger places it can go.